What's going on? You are listening to Tags Podcast, aka Talk About Gay Sex. This is episode 185. I'm your host, Steve V. Really happy to be with my two cubicle mates, Jeremy Ross Lopez.
Hey.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Lincoln, my other cubicle mate, sitting across from me in my imaginary office space. How you doing?
I'm doing really well. I don't think anyone's going to be in a cubicle ever again. It's ridiculous.
That's why I know. Exactly. Isn't that a good thing?
It is.
A cubicle? Well, we'll talk more about that. First of all, though, Jeremy, how's your week going? And I understand you're going away?
Yes, I can't wait. So Wednesday can't come soon enough. I'm going to, it's considered further up north, but it's to the mountains, to a place called North Conway. It's a really cute town in New Hampshire, and it's just very scenic and lots of hiking and natural rivers and all that stuff.
Nice. That sounds so beautiful.
I'm already loving it. Just the thought of nature and outdoors is like amazing. So,
Yeah.
Well, enjoy. We'll have to have stories when you get back.
Definitely.
Lincoln, I was just thinking about walking by the protein bakery the other day, and do you have a sweet treat or anything you want? What's your favorite sweet treat from the protein bakery?
Well, here's a little pre-announcement. We're not announcing it until my birthday. My birthday is on August 18th every year, and this year we're announcing our new birthday cake blondie, which is a low-sugar, keto-friendly blondie with 12 grams, I think, of protein total for the whole thing, and it has little sprinkles on it, and it tastes like birthday cake batter, and it's super yummy.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so we're going to announce it full on my birthday. But if you do stop by before then, we have some. So definitely stock up on those. You know, every day can be your birthday with the birthday cake blondie. It's really good.
And people should just go to theproteinbakery.com.
Yep, it's there. It's hiding.
Well, this week's after show on our Patreon page in honor of summertime. It's always better to be outside too during this pandemic. I am sharing with you on the after show all my favorite outdoor sex stories that I've ever had.
Yay!
It's a countdown, and I'll be sharing. You can relive some of those moments since we can't really travel on where I was, who I did, and how it was doing it outdoors. So it should be a lot of fun on the after show of Dark and Dirty. It's at patreon.com/talk about gay sex and that's where you get extra special sexy perks.
I love outdoor sex. I'm sorry, I just want to throw
Do
that out
you?
there.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I love feeling the sun. I love smelling nature. If it's like somewhere slightly public, the risk of getting caught. I think it's all very, very exciting, very fun. Especially, it always feels. I think my best outside sex was in Palm Springs, because you would go over people's houses and it'd be like, "Come to the pool and be outside," and the sun was so strong and warm, and there's
something cool about beachside sex. Totally. And then there's something cool about that desert kind of sex. Jeremy, do you like outdoor sex?
I love it.
You do?
Yeah.
He's outdoors right now.
You are outdoors. I know. You went outdoors right now.
It sounded like it, right?
Yes.
I'm outdoors having sex right now. Sorry.
It's funny. I just got up to put the AC up because it's like
you went outdoors. Got it. I love it.
That's funny.
Yeah. So that's at our Patreon after show. Just real quick, hold on. A quick upcoming announcement. We have a third upcoming podcast that I'm going to layer in every week. It's 3 podcasts now. It's a new live interactive show with a brand new platform called Get Vocal, VOKL, and it debuts Wednesday, August 19th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And it's going to be this interactive show using the Get Vocal platform where in real time people can it's kind of like a cross between Facebook and Zoom. So people can come on video wise, they can comment with us in real time.
Oh, wow.
And cool. They reached out to me, and it's going to be a brand new Tags Live and we can talk about a lot of the shows that the three of us are talking about, kind of break down even in deeper conversations with our audience. It's a
Mhm.
chance for our audience to really partake in, have a viewpoint, and let us know how they feel, if they disagree with us or if they have something to say about some of our hot gay sex topics. It's going to be all coming every Wednesday starting August 19th at 9 p.m. on Get Vocal. More information to come. Can't wait for that. There's some recent stories that I wanted to go into with you guys before we get into some hot gay sex topics, and one of them is where I'm from in the Bay Area. The Bay Area reported on this. As Oakland Pride approaches swiftly, they just unveiled progressively, I think, a brand new Oakland Pride logo. And if anyone knows about Oaklandish or Oakland, they have sort of the tree of life symbol. I have so many of
Oh,
their,
I love that symbol, and I love
yeah,
that sweater that you have from there.
exactly, and hats.
Yeah.
And as Oakland Pride came around, they decided, I think, in a really forward-thinking way, to incorporate, as they always have, the rainbow flag. But now they've included the colors brown and black, and it's a new logo incorporating colors of the progress flag, as they like to call it, to include black, brown, indigenous, and trans people alongside the six familiar rainbow flag colors. The organization stated that it's the first major pride celebration to use its logo to prominently embrace inclusivity with the added progress colors. And the new logo will be a part of Oakland's Pride virtual celebration that will take place September 6th through the 13th. The organization announced in June. And I think it's kind of cool that I love it. That's where I'm from. I lived in Oakland, California. I love the logo already. I'm already asking for t-shirts and logos that I can sport around. But I think the inclusion of the black and brown and the trans meaning of it all is a good thing. I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think about the inclusivity factor on that?
It is. I love the idea, and I think that that's great that they've made the decision to include it.
And
Absolutely.
it feels very Oakland. I mean, it feels very, I'm looking at it right now. It feels very Northern California and
Yeah.
appropriate. And, you know, I'm from, like, I guess most people know Walnut Creek, California. And San Francisco was always a hop, skip, and away from where I was being raised. So it's been ahead of the curve and incorporating everything. But I love the tree of life too, because it's always such a great symbol. I love it. It's nice.
Yeah, I was thinking at some point it would be cool to have a tattoo with the tree of life, but I do love the inclusion of all these colors, which might even be cooler at
Yeah.
some point. So we'll see.
Cool.
Good for Oakland and for all the people in the Bay Area. There's
Definitely.
another story out there. I'm just going to ask Jeremy. Hey, do you know what the slang term "bussy" stands for, or
Of
"boosie"?
course I do.
What does it stand for?
Boy pussy.
Boy pussy, yes, exact. Wow, did you know that, Lincoln?
Absolutely not.
I did not either.
I really didn't.
There's a news story out there. Bottoms and tops alike are losing it over this new electric camper van called the e-Boosie,
Oh
and
my
it's
god, I saw that.
exactly, and it's actually kind of like a bullet-shaped camper. It's very
Yes.
modern looking, but a
Yeah.
throwback to an old camper. And they asked the question in this article on Queerty: how can you tell if a company doesn't employ a single LGBTQ person on its senior staff? Well, the answer is when it releases a new electric camper van called the e-Boosie. That's exactly what happened at Electric Brands, a German based car company that specializes in producing RVs and modular buses. The e-Boosie is a revolutionary all-wheel drive camper van that comes in 10 different body forms and two chassis, standard and off-road, starting at around 18,000. And yeah, I don't I think it's really hilarious though that I didn't know what that was. Of course you knew, Jeremy, what that slang term was.
I
I
love it.
I saw that go around. I feel like on social media, I saw them making fun of the fact that someone named it after that, and And of course, they'd probably know by now, but I'm sure they had absolutely no idea. And I just thought, what a hysterical name for something that many gays refer to, like
That
as
is so
they're
funny.
playing that
And
on so much.
yeah, and Lincoln, you know a little bit about marketing and what works in marketing for the gays. Do you think that the gays will actually buy or be intrigued by the camper, knowing that we like spaces like a camper you can actually have sex in, probably, and it could actually be kind of a cool semi outdoor space to have sex in? Do you think it'll attract the gays?
I think it will, but you know what? Through the years of trying to market Protein Bakery to gay people exclusively, or sometimes it works, and sometimes a whole nother echelon of a community appreciates the
Yeah.
idea more than even the gay people. So I think it's hard to tell, especially in this day and age, and especially in this current day and age when you don't know how people are seeing it, whether it's on their phone or on their laptop or when they're actually at a place where they can wrap their head around it and enjoy it. You know what I mean? So it's interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder. I don't know. I've never been able to nail that demographic no matter what. I remember one year I was standing with who I started the Protein Bakery with. This was a long, long time ago at the white party selling brownies at Roseland. And
Wow.
everyone's like, oh my God, it's going to be great. Oh my God, it's going to be great. Oh my God, it's going to be great. The last thing people want to do is eat a high protein snack at a circuit party. Trust me. They want a banana, a boy, and a dance beat. They don't
Yeah.
need a brownie at the moment. So it was also at least 20, 18 years ago, 19 years ago. So maybe now it would work. But back then with something new, people didn't get it at all. So it really depends.
Well, I think this company's really onto something for all groups, because it seems like the camper, the RV, has really come into play for the straights, gays. My transgender friend Kyle, that I think you guys know, who's been on this show before, him and his husband bought an old RV, one of
Oh,
those
cool.
silver bullet ones, and they renovated the shit out of it. It looks so cool in upstate New York, and they are putting it on Airbnb, so you can actually go on their property, and they have
Oh, that's
acres.
cool.
Yeah, they've got acres of land in upstate New York, so you're going to be in a really beautiful area. If anyone's
Oh, that's
curious,
nice.
in upstate New York, let me know, and I will put you in contact with it. And it's what Kyle and his partner have done with this RV is really cool. Kyle, who's been on the show as a trans person, and then I've got straight friends that basically were gave up their whole careers to kind of drive around the country in a RV, a modern day one that doesn't look old school at all, that has all the perks in it, which is, so there's the straight. And then recently on my show, I had porn star Dante Cole on the show, who parks his RV that he also decked out, that looks really cool, by his friend's house in Malibu Canyon in the LA area. And he lives in that, and he's decked it out with even a pull-up bar in the back. And
Oh,
I mean,
cool.
yeah, so I mean, there's three examples of the straights, gays, trans that are, or bi, I don't know, Dante goes by all of it, but does gay porn. So
Mhm.
interestingly enough, I think they're onto something. So however you feel about it, I think it's kind of it's a hot commodity right now, however you look at it.
It's awesome.
um yeah, yeah. Well, we asked the poll, I think the last time you guys were on. Our poll question was, in general, have you noticed that you've let your guard down with your safety precautions relating to COVID? And in general, most people said not at all. There was a small percentage of people that said a bit. And I mentioned this on Sex with Stevie the other day to Cody, my co-host on that show, that I would have to answer a bit in this one, just because when the pandemic first started, I've always worn the mask. We're all obviously all proponents of the mask, but I
Mhm.
was actually wearing the black rubber gloves, the disposable gloves, so much so that anytime I went out, whether it was to the laundry room or to the grocery store, I was wearing those black gloves. And then, of course, I would come home. And at the time, originally, they said to wipe down your groceries with like a cleaning product before you put them away, and it was this whole procedure. Well, I don't do that anymore, so I guess I've relaxed it a bit. Yeah, I don't know. Have either one of you guys have anything where you've relaxed it or you're not at all?
I think I've definitely relaxed. I mean, I still do the mask for sure, but I definitely stopped with the gloves. Maybe
Right.
like 2 months in. But I definitely always have my hands clean. But that was way before COVID. So I think it's definitely helpful to just make sure that your surfaces are always clean.
Yeah, you're which is good.
Yeah.
Pristine cleaning surfaces all the time, and that's really
Yeah,
great.
I'm a cleanaholic, so I'm always cleaning. I still spray in the air sometimes too, especially in the shop. When someone comes in and leaves, I spray Lysol air just to get that kind of moving in the air as well. I
Lincoln,
don't
just don't inject into yourself with Lysol,
I
okay?
won't,
Like our
don't worry.
president told us. Okay.
Don't worry. I don't do the rubber gloves anymore. Peter does those a lot, especially on city bike. And I just am really
Yeah.
careful to use hand sanitizer a lot more because the more I wash my hands, the drier they get, and that drives me nuts. So the hand sanitizer really works
You
for
know
me.
what? I've been riding my bike, the city bikes, like you guys around the city a lot, doing outdoor workouts, and I pack a little knapsack or backpack pretty much every day because I'm always out now. Like, who am I? But I'm loving it, and I don't go anywhere without my hand sanitizer. And yeah, I do the same thing too. So at least because you are, whether you like it or not, you're opening doors and you're
Right.
doing, yeah. So it just makes sense for that. Poll question number 2 was: will you be asking or have you been asking potential sex partners their safety practices relating to COVID and if they've had the virus or not? So nobody said yes. One person
Really?
said not really. And most people said, I haven't hooked up with anyone in months. And Richard went on to say, I haven't hooked up much since this has started, but I admit I never asked when I did. And I am someone considered in the high risk group. So thank you, Richard, for your honesty on that. Yeah, I mean, I think it's good to know these things. It's probably a good idea just to, if you are gonna have a conversation, perhaps, just saying. Our other poll question was: do you think that gay men will alter certain sexual practices like hooking up with multiple partners, at least until we find a vaccine for COVID? Um, Once a couple people said I do feel that way, but the majority of people said was no, not really. So not really, they don't think that gay men will alter their sexual practices much. And again, Richard on this one said, I really wish I could say yes to this, and I think for some of it will be a yes, but let's face it, for most gay men the sex rules and most are willing to ignore everything to get our rocks off. I don't know. Jeremy, what do you think about that answer? Do you agree or disagree?
I mean, I definitely disagree. I have always had precautions, and also just no, I always feel the need to ask regardless, but I also don't like to put people on the spot and like interrogate them. So I think it's just healthy to have natural conversation, but I definitely don't avoid it altogether.
Right. Right. I think I kind of agree with you. I don't know, Lincoln,
Yeah,
thoughts on that?
I think men are more responsible than that. I think that we're just going to throw it all to the wind and every no, that doesn't work. I disagree completely. That's ridiculous.
Well, I know, but here I was lying out on the Chelsea Piers over the weekend, and they have these chalk circles where, if a friend of mine that I is in my neighbor, he's in my social bubble right now, if you will. We literally hung out in one of those bubbles, and not everybody was like honoring that. And we were a couple of times we had to get up and move, and we were in one of those designated circles that people should know, like, don't get
Yeah.
near. And we were overhearing some gay guys talking about, oh yeah, we went to Ashbury Park, and did you go, and like some party or something that was happening. Now I don't know, I was eavesdropping, so can't really totally speak to
Yeah.
that they were acting not necessarily cautiously, but it did seem that some are and others are sort
But
of
I do
like, yeah,
think the
whatever.
majority that's what I'm talking about. There's always going to be the exception to every rule. I get that. But I think the majority of people are realizing, like I keep saying this, like if I went last night out, who the hell's going to be out? Like I'm not.
Believe it or not, there's a lot of people out. It's
I
just
Yeah.
know.
a different,
I've seen a lot of New York, and I'm like, oh my god, it looks like
yeah.
bitches went back to normal.
I
Yeah,
haven't seen
really.
normal. When I go out and look around, there's people sometimes, but there's no one I know, and there's
Here,
not an abundance of people. And
yeah,
now we're about to go into like a big rainstorm, so I guess everyone's going to stay home again. I don't know.
We'll see. I don't know. I mean, I'd like to believe that people are, and I hope that they are, and I hope numbers don't go up.
Me
And
too.
so we'll just have to keep on seeing. Thanks for playing on that. This week's poll, you guys, everybody can all partake in this week's poll. We're asking the questions. If you're in a relationship this time, if you're in a relationship, are you having the same or more sex during COVID? I hope Lincoln, you
Mm.
answer that. If you're single, have you taken on a lover, as I like to say, or a fuck buddy that you trust? And are you being honest about your health habits and habits during this period? And then lastly, we just kind of want to gauge your summer. Are you in general? Are you having a good summer? I'm just going to ask you two this question real quick. Are you having a good summer, Jeremy?
I am. I'm having a great summer. I mean, I'm definitely. It's a lot more low key than what I expected it to be, but I'm grateful that I'm alive and healthy and working full time. And yeah, I mean, I can't complain. I'm enjoying the weather when I can, and I've been busier at work than normal, and it's been a decent summer. I mean, like we talked about on the last podcast, we're supposed to go to concerts and out of the country and stuff. And so I can only be grateful that I have been safe with family and just relaxing.
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree. And you're about to have a even better time beginning Wednesday when you go away.
Yay!
Yeah. Lincoln, we know that with everything going on and you own a business and you're dealing with your mom, I hate to even, I don't know. You tell
Well,
me.
I'm trying to live in the moment, and I'm having a good summer because I'm alive and I'm not sick, and Peter's not sick, and Salty Pretzel, my dog, is happy and bouncing all over the place. So I'm
Ah,
grateful for that. My mom is still alive and kicking, even though we're taking it one day at a time, and the bakery is still chugging along. But it does feel like everything is heavy, no matter what.
yeah.
It feels like I'm doing triple the work at the bakery, and the numbers are not triple. I wish I was still teaching my classes at Crunch and still teaching fitness, but that's vanished, and I don't know when that's coming back. And the endorphins and the sweat that I used to get in that regard is you can't replace that. You know what I mean? I can
Yeah.
run around the block or teach to some people at the piers or do something like it, but I miss that adrenaline and that responsibility for that amount of people. But it's an okay summer. Sometimes I don't believe it's summer.
I hear you.
you
And,
know?
and speaking of heavy, nice segue of working out, if you're during this heat wave that so many of us are having across the country right now and across the world as we have listeners all over, if your balls are feeling sweaty, have we got the product for you? And I know you have it, Jeremy, and I just
Oh
gave it
my
to
god, and I
you.
love it.
The Crop Reviver by Manscaped. It's a ball toner spritzer spray that, along with my hand sanitizer, when I'm packing up my knapsack, I just put this Crop Reviver toner, and you'll notice it when you open up your kit, Lincoln, that you got today.
I can't wait.
It's
I
a
haven't opened it yet, but I am very excited
as
about
you're
it.
running around the protein bakery and sweating and doing all this stuff,
Yay.
yeah, Peter's going to appreciate this. Just put a couple spritz on there. It's got one of my favorite ingredients, aloe vera, that I'm obsessed with these days. And so it'll just cool them off and won't be that funky. And everybody can get 20% off right now by using our promo code TAGS,
Nice.
TAGS, at checkout. Just go to manscaped.com. Well, let's get into some hot gay sex topics, a couple of them that I want you guys to weigh in. And currently, I don't know if you've heard this, but there's a decade old ban on gay bathhouses in San Francisco due to HIV. That was. It's interesting that now it's about to be lifted, and all the supervisors in San Francisco are weighing in on this. So bathhouses were once a major gathering, as
Mm-hmm.
most of us know, for gay men in San Francisco and other cities. During the HIV and AIDS pandemic, the city put restrictions on the bathhouses, forcing many of them to close. Well, interestingly enough, now the city is removing those restrictions, allowing for bathhouses to potentially return. Now, it might seem an interesting time that they would allow bathhouses of all places, I would argue, to open now. But this was something that was in the works pre COVID-19,
Mm-hmm.
as more than 3 decades ago, the HIV pandemic closed. And the San Francisco Board of Supervisors voted unanimously recently to remove these restrictions on on quote adult sex houses. All right, bathhouses that banned. And this is the interesting part, that banned locked doors for private rooms rented by bathhouse patrons and requiring monitoring of the sexual activities of customers. So it was on bathhouses, but it was really that concept that for so many of us that know, okay, Lincoln and me, you can often rent your own little room and have this kind of locked door experience, and that was really what they were banning, because there are and have been some sex clubs in San Francisco. It's just that everything always had to be out in the open so that
Right.
people could monitor. Now, okay, were people really monitoring? I would argue I don't know about that. It's an old um, scare and fear, obviously, towards AIDS and HIV that just never got lifted. And so the San Francisco Board of Supervisors has really been working to lift that, because they one of their arguments is sexual practices for gay men have changed, and things
Mm-hmm.
like PrEP are helping people to remain rates of HIV are on the decline. So I don't know. I guess it's interesting how it's all coming out now, though. I guess, do you think this lifting on banning of sex clubs in San Francisco is a little too late? And do you think reopening bathhouse fits or doesn't fit in our gay cultural landscape anymore? I don't know. I'll start with you, Lincoln.
Well, I think I don't know. It doesn't this come isn't this reminiscent of Roman days? And haven't men been coming together for years and years privately, gay men performing things with other men that don't necessarily fall under the gay heading. So I think it's that collection of men and that male bonding that's happened for years and years and centuries, that it's still going to be part of our society, but at the moment we're on a break.
Mm-hmm.
At the moment
Yeah.
we're on a break from going to a bar. So we have to be on a break from going to more intimate settings and doing that behavior, because we want to protect one another, and we also don't want to get sick ourselves. So we need to step up, be an adult, and not do that behavior for a small amount of time, so that we can get back to it. And we will get back to it. We took a break from sexual behavior in that way because so many people were passing away back in the day. And then when PrEP came along, we were jumping back into that behavior, but not everyone jumped back into it. And I think that's going to happen again because of COVID. Some
Hmm.
people will never go back into that setting ever. Other people will go back and they'll be very cautious. And
Mm-hmm.
other people will go back full throttle. And I also think, depending on a vaccine and if you've already had COVID, that will also um, influence your decision. And then you need enough people to make it worthwhile for the people that want to start that business or run that business can sustain it.
Right.
And, for some people like Jeremy, who you have been very vocal about, you've never really been into the sex clubs. I can remember dragging you there to some here, and you just sort of sit in the bar area as I go have
Yeah,
my fun.
I like being a fly on the wall. I have no problem with them in general, but it's definitely not like my MO or my first option if I'm gonna go out and be social. And you and I both know I love the like poppy dance bars like a lot more.
Yeah.
But I definitely like the vibe of them. It wouldn't be like my first option to go. And now with all of this going on, I mean, I think I may fall into that category of being one to hardly ever go, like moving forward.
Yeah. Do you think that they make sense anymore, knowing what we know now and what is going on about how just knowing that we just were talking a few minutes ago about surfaces and going to the grocery stores and wearing rubber gloves, whether we get on a city bike or to buy our groceries, and knowing what we know now that we leave potentially an imprint of the virus on our fingertips. Do you
Mhm.
think that sex clubs make sense anymore?
I mean, I don't think it's for us to decide if they make sense. I think for I mean, of course, certain people are going to always go to them, and then I think like Lincoln said, a lot of people will change their decision just based off of uh, just current events and the smartest decision for themselves moving forward. So I really think it's going to end up being like a personal opinion or also just like what your safety precautions are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in Europe, like in Berlin or in Amsterdam, that's such a way of life. I think it'll be different there compared to major cities in the US and then rural towns in the US. I think it's all changing. It's all going to
Mhm.
Yeah,
change.
it's interesting that you said Europe, and I forget where I was recently talking about that a place in Paris called Le Depot, and it's this awesome bar that really combines 3 or 4 levels. I can't even remember of disco club or club with great DJs, bar, and then there's this maze that you can kind of go 2 different mazes, and in one of the mazes there's actually, like we were talking about, doors that don't lock, but you could be on the dance floor at one moment and spin around and find yourself mazing through this half circle where you could hook up with some guy in like a little door in like a little cubicle and get out of there, and they actually have a bar set up in that maze too, so then you could spin and get a cocktail and then spin back on the dance floor with your friends. And it's the epitome of what you're saying, the way of life, and personally love that.
Mhm.
And I do like this. I personally like that because it combines the things that you guys at least know me for: loving a good bar setting, which is about socializing, loving being around great DJ dance music, whether it's dancing or actually just hearing it on loudspeakers and the vibe and the thumping and the bass line, to having a sexual interlude if I want to, or at least knowing that it's there. And that whole recipe is something that I will miss, that I do hope, to your point, Lincoln, may come in some way, shape, or form when there's a vaccine, perhaps. And yeah, I do sort of miss that, but I'm not missing it currently, knowing with what we're all going through. And I'm certainly not naive to all of this. And it is what it is. And yeah, I guess that's how I feel about that. So,
Nice.
um, moving on real quick, there's a new study that GLAD, we all know GLAD, right?
Yep.
Partnered up with Gilead. Gilead does PrEP and Descovy, and they wanted to do a study on the state of HIV stigma, which they found out that HIV in general, stigma still exists in America. I'm just going to read you a couple things here. Nearly 6 in 10 Americans wrongfully believe that it is important to be careful around people living with HIV to avoid catching it. Um, in general, most of the study and what they're going to found that there's still this stigma in 2020. In other words, I guess some of the questions to be asked, or what they're going to be asking, and what they want to do is, why have, with all the work of all the foundations and what we know about HIV and AIDS, like do people have a lack of knowledge? And actually, when they did the studies, they broke it down into heterosexual and LGBTQ, and in some cases, there was a percentile of LGBTQ people that didn't know enough about the HIV virus. And I think, I don't know, Lincoln, does that finding, the 6 in 10 Americans that wrongfully believe that it's important to be careful around people living with HIV to avoid catching it, does that surprise you at all? As someone like myself, that we grew up during the AIDS crisis and during our 20s and 30s with the fear of getting it, does that surprise you at all?
It doesn't surprise me because the population is big and the gay population is still not that big. And I do think that ignorance and not knowing a lot about it and being scared of it because they never knew someone that died of it, or, it just reminds me that I'm in a bubble. I'm in a Chelsea boy or Chelsea daddy that moved from the Castro bubble, that it's always been such a part of my life that I can't imagine it, but I believe it because so many people, just don't know about it. And when you don't know about stuff, you become afraid, you become scared, and you start to believe the worst that can happen is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, my life has not been affected a lot by people with cancer. I don't know a lot. I thank God I haven't had a lot of people in my life die of cancer or deal with cancer. So to me, I don't know what that looks like. And I might be more afraid of that when it happens, So I believe it. It's unfortunate, but I believe it. And it makes me feel like I really live in a bubble.
Yeah, yeah. And Jeremy, there's, like I said before, there's a finding in this study that indicates that even within our own LGBTQ community, some of us, and the percentiles, 55% of our community that they polled in this study feel knowledgeable about HIV. Only 55%. That means that what? My math's not very good. Does that mean that 45%?
Yep.
Yeah, okay,
You
got it.
got
All right, I'm not
it.
really good at that. Don't. And I don't know, does that number surprise you? And do you think it's younger gays that would fall into that percentile, the 45%,
I mean,
due to growing up in a prep era?
I don't know. I don't know if I still think it's not okay, and I think it's so important that when you are just a part of our community, any shape or form, it's so important to be educated and aware, and I think that there are so many different realms that you can gain knowledge in, and even just by watching Pose and things like that, I think there's so many different facets that you can learn from, that I just find it hard to even fathom that there is that percentage that doesn't know. Or
You're a millennial, and one of your favorite films that you've promoted on this show several times is the HBO film The Normal Heart, right? That
Mhm.
is a
Yeah,
huge, famous play.
I really really loved that film, and it educates you in a way that you want to be educated, but it's also like traumatic what the characters go through, and it's such a beautiful depiction. And I know that you had said that the play was even just more in depth and a different way of portraying that story. And I think that it's a perfect example of something that people could use just to try and educate themselves or show people that they know aren't educated about the topic.
It's a
Well,
great play. I love that play.
yeah.
I actually
Did you
saw
see
it.
it?
I saw it I've seen it 4 times in different
Ah,
forms. The last
wow.
one I saw live was with Raul Julia
Oh
down
my
at
God.
no, Raul Esparza. Raul Esparza down at the Public Theater, and it was breathtaking. Like everyone was crying so hard that it was crazy. It's a really good educational play. It's awesome.
And if people want to just watch it now, it's on demand. I think you'd watch the HBO film version, which is equally good and
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
and powerful, and you'll get to know at least what the AIDS epidemic, what people actually went through. And I really want to. I love what this study is doing between GLAAD and Gilead on looking at the state of HIV stigma. And one of the things that they're going to continue to do is a simple statement is HIV is not easily transmitted. HIV cannot be passed through healthy, unbroken skin. And U equals U, undetectable equals untransmittable. If someone with HIV is adhering to their treatment, their viral load is undetectable with effectively no risk of transmitting HIV. This reality has not broken through to the general public. Stigma continues to hinder efforts to educate the public about prevention and treatment options and suppress valuable conversations about HIV between friends and loved ones. And I'll just say this one thing that on Facebook, you have the option often to promote, and Facebook often has, with our Tags podcast page, said, "Oh, do you want to? This post is doing really well. Do you want to promote it?" And of course, it means money, right? But for like $10, you can get if something is doing well, and they say, "Do you want to use a built-in?" Tags, I mean, not tags podcast, but like tags that you've used before. So I've created different tags that I've used before for our World Pride live broadcast that include other LGBTQ publications. So you would think when I would click that it would get to and then pay the promotional fee, that it would go out to like-minded LGBTQ people, correct? Can I get a
Right.
name in? Yeah, well, yeah, that would be yes.
Right.
So
One would think.
yeah, and so but what I've found time and time again is, and I want to write into them, is I've gotten to speak to this point a lot of hate. Like in other words, it went into other people's feeds that probably are actually the opposite. I mean, we're talking
Wow.
haters of gays and LGBT rights, and wishing us dead, and not us, but just gay people. And one of them wrote like, "Don't people know AIDS kills you?" And literally horrific things that I have to then go on there and delete, and it's just a waste of time. And I'm more annoyed that I fell into the prey of like promoting something via Facebook ads. So I just think that, yeah, education is not out there, and I love what they're doing, Gilead and Glad, to educate people. And obviously we all know some people are never going to change their opinions. It's, the sad fact of, our world, but some people just don't know.
And
And
the
I
other
think,
sad fact is that people are reading stuff and seeing stuff and taking it as law or as medical advice. I mean, look at all the erroneous medical advice around COVID-19.
yes,
It's just been so mysterious and twisted, and it's just showing how, there used to be a day where you needed to be a doctor to say certain things, and you would never say them to the public unless you were. And
Mhm.
now people
yep,
are saying it all over the place for different products that don't have any health benefits. It's crazy. It's crazy.
yeah,
Madness.
yeah. Well, I want to thank my lovely co-host, my cubicle partners. Don't forget to take this week's poll about if you're having sex, if you're in a relationship or not, and so much more. If you're having a good summer, go to patreon.com/talk about gay sex. And we'll report on those findings. It's all free, and it's a lot of fun to report in when you take those polls. Jeremy Ross Lopez, thank you, and have a great
Of
vacation. Oh,
Yeah, enjoy it.
and Lincoln, enjoy the week ahead. I know you're crazy, crazy busy.
You two, and stay dry.
Yes, I
It's supposed to be
know.
raining here in the city a
Love
lot.
rain.
Yes.
And everybody continue being safe and healthy and wear your mask.
Yeah.
We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye, guys.